speak to that assembly. Mr. Schulz, please. Yes, thank you. Yes, this was a first to be allowed to speak before the Eurogroup summit in my capacity as President of the European Parliament. Article 12.5 of the fiscal package provides for the possibility of the President being invited. It's a may rather than a shall, as is the case for the proper summits. But I think this serves to illustrate just how dramatic the current situation is, because last week's debate in Parliament with the Prime Minister and the President of the Council and the Luxembourg Prime Minister, I think all of that served to demonstrate just how interrelated all these various aspects of the debate are, that we are very much at the crossroads. Are we going to move forward together in the spirit of unity, or are we going to start falling apart? I mean, that's the question which is really on today's agenda. And in my speech, I try to explain to the heads of state and government that we're very rarely in the sort of situation where the time allowed for decision relates not just to one country, but to the Union as a whole. Everyone in the Eurozone, in Europe in general, but the Eurozone in particular, will be affected by any decision. We're working under real pressure of time. I mean, decisions have to be taken. They will have a direct impact. It's very rare that you're in such a clear-cut situation, as is the case this evening, which is why I'm assuming that there must be a decision, and I hope that it will be a constructive decision. I mean, I think most MEPs, the overwhelming majority, are very keen on Greece remaining in the Eurozone. But of course, within the European Parliament, as in fact in the European Council too, apparently, there are people who have different views. There are people who basically subscribe to the view that Greece really ought to leave the Eurozone. And they don't see any particular risk attaching to Brexit. But the broad majority of colleagues in my parliament are of the opposite view. They subscribe to the view that Brexit is not an option. Even a temporary Brexit is not an option. I mean, so it's quite clear the heads are required to find a solution. Medium and long-term debt sustainability, yes, for Greece, but they also need to start proper negotiation on a third package, because the decision to take up this negotiation is absolutely the basis for any financing for that country. The alternative would be that over the next few years we're going to find ourselves in a catastrophic state of affairs as far as Greece is concerned. So my appeal to the heads was that they must find a decision today. I mean, there's talk of a further postponement, that once again finance ministers will get together and re-evaluate, re-report to the European Council. That I don't think is really a good idea. I think that the heads today should work on the basis of a spirit of compromise, and let's hope we can reach an agreement. I mean, compromise is required by all, including Greece, and everything really depends on how Alexis Tsipras and the Greek government what sort of position they adopt to this proposal. So before you put any questions, I would say by way of conclusion, I really cannot remember in all my years in European policy to ever come across a situation like this. It's not just any old decision. This is really all about the European Union. I mean, if the European Union is going to have any sort of credible force, it's got to demonstrate its capacity to solve its own problems.
Den Nachweis
And
Probleme nach innen lösen zu können, die Glaubwürdigkeit nach außen
and
zu schaffen.
demonstrating its ability to solve its own problems will obviously be very, very important in terms of its prestige on the international stage.
Es geht auch um das griechische Volk. Es geht auch um das
It's
Schicksal
also, we're talking about the fate of millions of people.
ist die Verantwortung
So I
beidseitig.
think there is there's a responsibility on both sides, on the part of the Greek government, but also as regards the other partners within the Eurozone.